It's one of the classic pedals of all time and definitely one of my favorites, but you need to have a little extra skill to use it properly, and that's what I want to show you today. I want to teach you how to properly use the wah-wah pedal. Excuse me, let's try that again. I want to show you how to properly use the wah-wah pedal. The wah-wah pedal. What's going on? Is this crossed? Sorry. I want to show you how to use the wah-wah. Is someone messing with me? The wah-wah. The wah-wah pedal. The wah-wah. The wah-wah. Oh, for fuck's sakes. The wah-wah. The wah-wah pedal. Ah, f*** it. The wah-wah pedal. The wah-wah pedal.
Nobody's messing with you.
Hey there, I'm Dan, the self-proclaimed lonely rocker. Welcome to this episode of I Don't Have a Band. So today, yes, I want to take a look at the wah pedal, probably my favorite pedal of all time, mainly because it's not like you just set it, turn it on and off, you interact with it and it takes some skill. It's a fine coordination between both your hands and your feet. And if you've never used the wah pedal before, well, it might take a little practice to get it right. Now, depending on where you are as a guitar player, I'm going to start at very basic level. So if you find it a little too easy at the beginning, you can shift through all the different chapters. I'm going to index everything so you can follow along through the description or the different chapter headings you can step through. And if you're new and you want to re-review something, well, you can just click to all the different chapters to make it easy for you. So I've got 12 steps to better wah playing. Let's get started with step number 1. So there's a few steps to building up to good wah playing, and we want to start off with playing basic rhythms on the guitar. Now, the way I look at it is the bottom 3 strings are like the kick drum on a drum kit, and then the top 3 strings are like a snare drum. So if we do a very simple pattern, it would sound something like this. Now, obviously, that's very basic, but we want to start getting used to rhythms and then how we're going to coordinate that wah to that rhythm that we're playing. So what I like to do is I like to play 2 drum rhythms and sort of emulate that drum pattern. Now, you can use a click track or a metronome if that's all you have. If you've got some computer where you've got drum loops or anything like that, find a simple pattern and emulate that pattern on the guitar, finding where that kick drum is and where that snare drum is, and play that pattern until you got it nice and tight. Something like this. All right, the next step is to introduce the wah and coordinate with what we're doing on the guitar. So like I said, we've got sort of our kick drum with the bottom strings. We're going to have the wah pedal in the up position, and when we play the bottom 3 strings, we're going to open the wah by pushing it down. And to keep it really simple in this first step, we're going to count 4 with our foot, where 1, the wah is in the up position, 2, it's the down. So 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'll sound something like this. Let's take a look at that a little closer. So if you've been playing guitar for a while, you should find that pretty easy to do. If you're a bit newer on the guitar, take the time to get that right. You really want to be able to coordinate what you're doing with your hands and what you're doing with your foot on the wah. But the next thing we want to do is we want to introduce a little bit more rhythm to the right hand. Now we're going to keep that wah still, counting 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and just keep that moving. But I want to add a little something else to the right hand, something like this. So the wah is still going 1, 2, 3, 4, but now we're getting a little bit more rhythm on the right hand. Let's take a look at that a little more closely. Hey, I thought that was a pretty cool tip. If you agree with me, perhaps you'd consider clicking the like button. That goes a long way to supporting this channel, and I really appreciate that. Of course, you can leave a comment, you can share this video, and ultimately, if you really enjoy what I'm doing here, you can hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. If you want to do a deeper dive with The Lonely Rocker, I am on Patreon. I'll link that down below. All right, let's get back to the video. So make sure you practice that so you can play freely with your right hand and keeping time with the wah pedal. That's a great step, especially if you're very new to wah playing, if you can get that going. Once you feel comfortable, it should be second nature. You shouldn't even be thinking about it. Your foot will just be tapping and you can be playing some funky rhythms with your right hand and you'll be in good shape. But the next thing we want to do, once we've got that down, is we want to start getting a little more creative with the wah pedal. Instead of just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, we might want to catch certain moments or accent certain chords or little flares with the right hand. Something like this. Right, we can play interesting rhythms with the right hand and we can catch those moments with the wah pedal. Let's take a look at that a bit more closely. So just keep at that, practice it until you start feeling yourself playing in the pocket without too much effort. It really is a feel thing, and the more you do it, the more natural it'll start to feel. So at this point, we've got our right hand going, we've got our foot going, but what about our left hand? We haven't played any notes yet. Not just yet. There's another thing that I do in my wah playing is that I sort of adjust the muting that I'm doing with my left hand. Now this is something you're going to have to experiment with. I'll try and explain it. But we've got it sort of a mute sound. But we can actually move our hand around a little bit to adjust the sound of the mute, even catch some open strings, even some harmonics. So if we've got that rhythm playing down from the past couple of steps and we've got the wah doing what we want it to do, we can start doing things like this. See, my hand is moving around a little bit. It's not so rigid and just muting. But let's look a little more closely to see what I'm doing. So if you get to the point where you can start using both of your hands and get that wah doing what you want it to do, you know you're going to be well on your way to being a good wah player. And we haven't even played a note yet. Here's another technique that I like to do, and you'll find as you get comfortable with this, you'll find like little tricks. It'll help you with solos, with rhythm playing, to throw in like little sort of color and effect to your playing. Here's one, it's where we're going to slide, but we're going to open the wah every time we do the slide. So we're going to start in the up position, and as we do the slide, we're going to slowly open the wah, so it sounds something like this. So if you're doing a little rhythm, it's a great little trick. Well, let's take a look at that a little bit closer. So how are we doing? You getting the hang of it? Perhaps you're ready to start adding some actual notes. I think we might be ready for that. By the way, if you like lessons like this and you'd like me to see more of it, maybe dive deeper into wah concepts, maybe applying to different styles or even more soloing, we'll see how well this video does. You know, simply liking the video, leaving a comment, or sharing this video goes a long way. More people will see it, and if I see there's enough interest, I'll be more than happy to dive deeper into these concepts. All right, so I'm going to take a very simple bar chord progression, 3 chords, where the bottom of the chord will be my kick drum, and I'm going to have the wah in the up position. And then when I play the high part of the chord, my wah is down. That's kind of like my snare drum. So it's going to sound something like this. So we got the lower part of the chord as our bass drum, and then the higher part of the chord as our snare drum. Let's take a closer look at that. As we start adding chords and notes to our playing, we got a lot more things to think about. But hopefully those rhythmical techniques that I taught you in the earlier steps are going to start to become sort of second nature to you. You don't really have to think about them. And now we're thinking about more of the chords that we're playing. So that extra rhythm that we added before, I want to add that now to the chords. Again, we're going to keep the wah pretty simple, but remember that little flair that we added with our right hand. We can do that with our chord progression as well, keeping in mind where we want the kick drum and the snare drum of our playing to be. Something like this. Let's take a closer look at that. All right, now we're going to start bringing together some of the different techniques that we've learned in the previous steps. We've introduced some chords. We did that rhythmical stuff with our right hand, the muting and sort of moving our left hand a little bit. Of course, we got the wah going. We can start to bring those together now and start creating very interesting rhythms, something like this. It starts to make it more interesting now. We can bring out different little things in our palette and mixing it up while keeping things very rhythmical in time. It's a really cool effect. Let's take a closer look at that. All right, how are we doing so far? If a lot of this is new to you, don't hesitate to stop, go back through some of the other chapters. Make sure you practice each one just to make sure that you're getting it right and just start adding those building blocks. There's a number of steps here to get through. This video is not going anywhere, so definitely take your time, work through it, build up to speed, and when you feel comfortable, move on to the next step. Of course, if you got it down, well, let's start adding to our inventory. There's something I like to do with the wah pedal. It's probably one of my favorite things to do, and I call it opening a chord. So I'm going to use a minor 7 as an example, where I'm barring at the 7th fret with my first finger. I'm going to have the wah in the up position, so it's going to sound like this. And then I'm going to slowly hammer on the 5th and the minor 3rd to complete the chord, but by the time I do that, I'm going to have the wah in the open position or in the down position. And it's going to be like a sweep into the chord. That's why I call it opening the chord, something like this. It's a common in funk playing. It's a really nice technique. Let's take a closer look at that.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting there. I got one more technique I want to show you before we bring it all together. We've been playing chords, but we can start to introduce individual notes. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with solos and things like that, which I'm not touching on in this lesson. Again, if you find this really helpful and you'd like to see me dive deeper into solos and things like that, definitely share this video, leave a comment, more people will see it, and I'll definitely be up for doing another one. So what I'm going to do here, again, playing around that minor 7, I want to start adding like individual notes, and much like that opening a chord, I'm going to sort of open a note. We've got a D here on the G string at the 7th fret, and then we have the E here as well. And like we open that chord, we're sort of going to open the notes together. So if we were doing something like this, we can follow it with. See what I'm doing there? I'll show you more detail in a second, but the idea is to strike the first note and then introduce the second note, and again, just push down on the wah slowly. Got to feel it, right? It's a feeling thing. And then I'm adding a little vibrato to that note as well. So if you put them together, so as I'm opening it, I'm creating a little vibrato with my 3rd finger. Let's take a closer look at that. All right, we've arrived at step number 12. If you've made it this far, let me know in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Step 12, basically, we're bringing everything together. We've got the rhythm with our right hand. We're making adjustments with our left hand just to create those extra, more interesting rhythms. We've got the wah-wah doing what we want it to do, where we're not just playing time, we're actually accenting and getting that into the rhythm. We've added some chords, we've added some notes, we're opening chords, we're sliding, we're doing all of those things. So what I'm going to do, this is actually the riff that I played at the beginning of the video, where I'm using that minor 7 little riff where I'm opening the chord. I'm, like I said, those little things I do, timing. I'm actually adding some octaves on the higher strings and really just having a little jam here. It sounds something like this. Right? I've got the single notes, I've got some chords, I've got some octaves, and I've got that right hand going, and I've got the wah accenting where I want it to accent. So I'm going to show you a little more detail on that so you can see what I'm doing. Well, there you go, 12 steps to better wah playing. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this lesson. It was a lot of fun for me. I love wah playing. This kind of style is actually probably one of my strongest styles of playing. You know, I'm more of a rock guy, but I actually love good funk playing and clean playing, and I love using that wah pedal. And it's a lot of fun to bring it out. Unfortunately, you can't use it in every song, but there are a lot of applications for it across all sorts of different genres. So I definitely would be happy to dive into different styles as well. If you guys wanted to hear more from me on this topic, you can just let me know. Like I said, leaving a comment, sharing the video. The more interest in this video, I'll be happy to dive deeper into more wah concepts. But ultimately, would love to know what you thought about this lesson, so just let me know in the comments.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button and or leaving a comment. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. There are a lot of great musical projects you can do by yourself right from your own home. I hope to see you again in another video.